being adaptable and how these games never look alike. What'd you make of the way your team just reacted to the circumstances of Shea being in foul trouble tonight?
Not only that, I just thought LA's physicality in the first half, I thought they were the aggressor, especially their offense against our defense. And so we had to kind of endure their punch in the first half. They obviously took a lead. In the third, Shea had 4. And so it's just kind of an unpredictable game, and like I said, after game 1, no 2 games are alike. So we did a great job of just staying present, winning the next battle in front of us, sticking together. We got contributions from everybody. It was great.
Mark, what did you see from AJ specifically in that stretch?
I mean, he was outstanding in the first half. Got his scoring going. Didn't make his threes, but made everything else pretty much in the first half. And great floor game. He gave us great tempo when Shea was getting denied and when Shea was off the floor, and just continued poise and confidence out of him in these big games.
And I have to ask because it felt like the second half sort of dissolved into these teams versus the crew. I don't know. I mean, I won't ask you about the quality of the officiating, but what role did you seem to feel like the officiating played by the end of the game?
I mean, my interactions with the officials are between me and them. I had plenty to say to them, but I'm going to keep it there. And I thought our team did a really good job of staying present and just focusing on the next controllable. And we just played it possession by possession.
Yeah, Mark, just talk about that group right after Shea gets goes to the bench and after the flagrant, just the way they were able to grab control of the game.
Yeah, it's just great confidence by the team and togetherness. We strung together stops, played with great pace off those stops. Guys stepped in and made confident plays up and down. It started with the group when Kaysen went in for him, the starting group plus Kaysen, and then every sub we rolled in there, did the same thing and really built a nice lead. I probably would have gone back to him in the third. I was planning on doing that in my head, but we played so well. I just kept riding it. It got him fresh, allowed him to play the whole fourth. It was a great team win.
I feel like a lot of guys, young guys in Jared McCain's role would be a little timid. He comes out there and there's no fear in anything, not scared to make a mistake. Just talk about his mentality in those type of situations.
Yeah, I mean, he's ironclad, as we've talked about. He goes in there, stays in character, stays aggressive. He's going to shoot the next shot. He makes the right plays. He plays inside the team. He competes defensively. He's had good defensive possessions for us. And he was huge tonight. And you need that in a playoff series. There's a lot of basketball. And you're going to need everybody. We trust everybody. He was big again tonight.
Mark, to build on that sequence there, to have guys that are facing, the Lakers are kind of rolling. They seem like they're maybe trying to, inflict some damage with Shea on the bench. To have guys out there that maybe you don't expect to sort of turn the tide. Where do you sort of think this team gets that from?
Well, other people might not expect it, but I do. I've got that he was amped up during that stretch, and that's really what turned the game for us. As we were stringing together stops, it was putting us out on the break. Those guys did a great job.
Coach, in terms of combinations of playing Chet and Isaiah, obviously those are the final piece of that defensive puzzle, but how important has the rim protection been all year, just being able to spark your transition and just being that final piece of what you guys try to do?
Yeah, I mean, they're not only great rim protectors, they're really versatile defenders that do a lot of things for us. When they're out there together, it's incredibly impactful. I'd throw Jay Will in there. He's about as disciplined, as intelligent, and as physical as there is. I mean, he's taken however many charges already in this series. He's in the middle of everything too, and those three guys, they just bring a great blend of all the things I just said. It's huge for our defense, and they were huge tonight.
Mark, what have you just made of Shea's series so far through 2 games? I know the foul trouble might have affected his rhythm tonight, but how the Lakers are defending him and how he's responding to that?
Well, how he's responding is how he always responds, which is nothing bothers the guy. He's pretty unflappable. And he understands the nature of these series. These series, it's quality opponents that are capable of executing a lot of different things. He's the centerpiece of game plans. You know, they're doubling him about as aggressively as we've seen, and as consistently as we've seen. And he just continues to find a blend of his aggression, getting off early, and empowering his teammates, and the way that he's played. You know, even in game one, with the way that he's moving it out of there, that has some effect on their ability to go out there and play the way they did when he was in foul trouble. You know, he deserves some credit for that with the way that he's empowered the group despite his gravity, you know, as a MVP caliber player. So, you know, that's how I'd grade him out.
And what you see on the play with
Initial takeaway from you, anything that kind of stood out the most?
Well, you know, I talked about it a little bit yesterday, them being +9 in the non-Shea minutes, and then, you know, in the second half, we just got blitzed. You know, 32-14, 7 turnovers. They shot 14 free throws during that stretch. So we'll look at lineups, we'll look at everything, try to figure out how we can be better in those minutes.
You said you expected Austin to have a bounce back. What did you see from him tonight?
I thought he did a good job, you know, touching the paint, and, you know, those touch shots were there tonight. Got some good looks from three. You know, just he played a solid game. Obviously, you know, he had 5 turnovers, but everybody on our team had turnovers. You can start seeing like some trends here, and we probably need to go back to the 2 keys we had against Houston, which is take care of the ball and box out, because, you know, it's not on high volume, but they've killed us in both games. Every time they've gotten an offensive rebound, they've scored.
JJ, you got a technical in the first half. Multiple players had really long, extended conversations with refs. What was sort of at the core of those frustrations tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I sarcastically said the other day they were the most disruptive team without fouling. I mean, they have a few guys that foul on every possession, and all the good defenses do. You know, SGA gets like I don't even know, a touch foul, I guess, on the drive. There was a stretch where 4 straight possessions, our guys got absolutely clobbered trying to make an entry pass to Jackson, and Jalen Williams is grabbing his jersey with both arms. That's a turn. Like, they're hard enough to play. They're hard enough to play. You've got to be able to just call it if they foul, and they do foul.
Along those lines, I mean, LeBron has, I think, taken 5 free throws here in 2 games. Have you seen him be like attacking and downhill, and are you surprised he hasn't been able to get to the line more?
Well, he gets clobbered on that one, you know, with Jalen Williams coming over trying to block the shot when he spun baseline on Dort. That was in that stretch as well. LeBron has the worst whistle of any star player I've ever seen. I mean, I've been with him 2 years now. You know, there's, again, the smaller guys, because they can be theatric, they typically draw more fouls, and the bigger players that are, you know, built like LeBron, it's hard for them. But he gets clobbered, and he got clobbered again tonight a bunch. But that's not like a new thing. That's not specific to this crew or, you know, this series. He gets fouled a lot. That doesn't happen. I mean, guy gets hit on the head more than any player I've seen on drives, and it rarely gets called. So,
Do you think composure was a factor at all, or do you think because of the kind of the blatant things you're talking about, there's no other way to react than to point out?
Oh, no. But our guys were so good tonight. Just staying together and poised. That's the emotions part of basketball. And I think some of the reason they're you know, officiated the way they are is because they don't